Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, I
And
guess.
I am Macho Man Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, another cool little title card that Corey had made for us. I thought, what's this episode really have to do with wrestling? And Corey's like, I know you're excited about wrestling, and I just wanted to make it. I thought it's fun. I'm like, all right, and we could talk about it for a little bit, but
Right.
yeah. Those are cool. I always like seeing what he makes every week.
No, I think it's really great. Though I would have loved to have been, some other wrestler. Somehow I ended up looking like a referee who's like flipping you off and giving you the bird, So clearly not happy with what you just did.
I think you're mad at me because I took the West Coast.
Maybe.
I think that's what it is. I'm over here like, I don't care where I'm supposed to be from. I'll do what I want.
Get over on the right.
Yeah, that's what that signal is. He's like, get over there. Yeah, but I guess I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin because I just got this championship belt that was a special Stone Cold belt that he carried when he was a wrestler.
Right. You are definitely like racking up the belts here, Steven.
I really am. I just kind of had to put it on for a minute. I'm like, this thing is huge. What I did was, and what's really cool about this one is it has it's a replica, of course, but it has the snake kind of print on the back.
Nice.
Which I thought that was kind of cool. It's pretty heavy. But yeah, I traded a bunch of toys for this local toy shop.
Okay.
So I've been eyeballing it for a while. I'm trying to sit it down all carefully so I don't like drop it and break it. Yeah, I had seen it on the shelf for like, I don't know, a couple of months, and I really wanted it, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to pay for it because I don't have I mean, I probably could have bought it, but I didn't want to throw that much money on something at once. And then I thought, I see all these toys laying around, some Power Rangers, some this and that, a few Ninja Turtles. Like, I buy these things, they sit, and if I don't pick them up and go, oh yeah, let me pose this guy. If I don't do that in like 6 months or so, I don't really need them. So traded a bunch of stuff in and got this belt.
Yeah, that's cool. I've got to be honest. I know that you're very current with everything going on as far as wrestling, and for me, I was like super into wrestling when I was younger. I mean, that group of Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Rowdy Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Those guys were like my jam, right? They were absolutely the group of guys that Corey and I would go and watch when we were growing up. I remember even being in Pizza Hut and having that old WWF wrestling game that we would play the hell out of. But I haven't really followed
arcade games. Yes,
I know it. But I feel bad. I haven't watched a whole lot of it. What are you like super excited about here for this weekend?
Well, honestly, the Stone Cold Steve Austin belt is something I've always wanted for a long, long time because I grew up on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He really started to shoot up there around 1996, and he was around a little before that, but his popularity really blew up between 96 and 97. And then sometime when he became world champion, he had his own belt. And that was back when it was still called the WWF. And of course, as you see here, there's no F on the logo. Of course, on the replicas, they can't legally use the F anymore, apparently. So that's the one thing that bugs me about this. I just wanted to say that because I'm like, ugh. But anyway, what I'm most excited about, I'm not really super excited, but kind of like you, I fell out of it a little bit. I guess I'm more of a fan now than a lot of people, but I'm nowhere near as big of a fan as I was 20 years ago. But WWE WrestleMania is coming up. It's a 2-night event. They try to say, oh, it's so big it can't fit into one night, which I guess it is, but they could do a 7-hour show in one night if they wanted to. But who wants to sit in the TV for 7 hours and just watch one straight show?
I mean, I've binged watched a lot of stuff, so I wouldn't mind.
But yeah, it's coming up not tonight, tomorrow night, April 2nd, and Sunday, April 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Peacock. So anybody that has Peacock that likes wrestling, you go on there and watch it live streaming. The WWE doesn't do pay-per-view anymore. Back in the day, you would pay $20, $30, whatever, watch the show. Now they have streaming, and it's all about that. And so there's no pay-per-view anymore with them.
Because you're already paying.
Yeah, I pay $5 a month for Hulu, Peacock. And there is a $10 a month option to get rid of the ads, but I don't really mind some ads. And on live wrestling shows like that, there are no ads anyway. There's like the sponsored spots on the show and stuff like that, but there are no ads during the program unless you watch the replay later. Then they insert the ads in there later on. But I'm excited. Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to come in and do a little. I don't know if he's supposed to fight in an actual match or if he's just going to have a little storyline. But there's a little storyline going where he's like coming back after 19 years to, as he says, open up one last can of whoop ass on this other guy that's been talking trash about Texas and all this stuff. So I don't know, it's exciting. And I like to watch the WrestleMania show every year, even if I haven't followed it, because I don't think I watched a single episode all of 2020. And then it's a lot like soap operas, though. If you've watched it in the last couple of years, you could miss a whole entire year and then go back on and be like, oh, okay. You could pick back up.
Right.
And another little cool thing about it, if you look at the poster down at the bottom, you can see Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. Okay. He's actually competing in a match. So
he's going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah, we're going to see how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we know it's all kind of predetermined. It's all entertainment, but it's still fun for me to watch.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that wrestling is fake?
No. I didn't buy this belt. I beat up Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I mean, we both watched Heels. We know that that it's actually pretty real.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that show's pretty accurate from what I understand. I've never stepped in a ring myself, but I mean, knowing some that have and seeing people that have gone through things like that, it's not fake necessarily, but it's not.
It's both fake and real. Like, I think what the show really talked about was the idea that the things that were happening off camera ended out playing out on the ring. There was the script and there was what actually happens.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of unplanned events that end up taking place.
And especially being a wrestling fan today, as opposed to in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the curtain has been pulled back a lot on wrestling. With the internet, podcasts, all this stuff. There are podcasts out there now with people who are wrestling writers and wrestlers themselves going on and like, yeah, that storyline was cool. My character, this, my character. You wouldn't hear anybody talk about that in 1985 or 1990 or anything, So now anybody can turn on a podcast and know exactly what the deal is. And so it's a different world. So it's still interesting to me. I'm not as dedicated as I used to be, but that's because it's kind of more predictable, kind of more like, oh, okay, they're doing this again. It's still fun, but it's like, okay, I've seen this.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it's like you never knew what to expect.
Right. I'm excited for you to go and tell us about it next week when we record again.
Yeah, I just thought it would be fun to talk about a few extra things. And I know I did a video a couple of days ago when I got this, but I wanted to show it off here for a second. If some of you may recognize, trying to get my words together here, Super Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
And that Super Shredder did not actually last very long.
No, like 10 minutes. And I don't remember, but I said this in a little stream when I opened it. I don't remember Super Shredder having this in the movie.
Well, I mean, remember that he basically took the ooze and never really did much more than get crushed. So
here's a regular Shredder that we know from the first movie. And his mask even comes off. Boom. He's got the scar from the rat. But yeah, this Shredder falls into a garbage truck and gets crunched in it. Like 5 minutes later, at the beginning of the second movie,
he falls off a building.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, we only saw the helmet get crushed. We didn't see him get crushed, but they wanted us to believe that he was dead.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about it is even like the odds of him surviving being in a garbage truck that was compressing are very slim. Apparently, he did survive, but then he gets out, sharpens his helmet up, puts it on. Okay, now he's going to get revenge on the turtles. Then at the end of that second movie, he drinks ooze. Oh wait, the camera's over here. Little ooze vial that Super Shredder comes with. He drinks ooze and then mutates into this beast. And then all it took to defeat him, let me knock over basically a tree, which is like a board on a pier. And he only knock it over and some wood falls on him. He's dead. Survives the garbage truck, gets hit by wood, he's dead.
Yeah, it should not have been that easy to defeat him.
No.
Yeah.
But an interesting note, like the person that played, I don't know about the voice, but the person that played the physical Super Shredder was wrestler Kevin Nash, who used to be known as Diesel in the WWF.
Okay. I could have sworn the same guy who voiced Shredder was the guy who played Sato in the Karate Kid.
I thought so too.
I could have sworn that's what they said.
It could have been. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like before we go much further, we need to remind people that if you're watching our show either live or if you're watching a recording of it, if you have not already done so, make sure you go ahead and subscribe here to Between a Hot and a Hard Place. Just go ahead and hit that button and subscribe. As you're watching live or watching this recording, we love comments. We'd love to pop your comments up on the screen as we go through this. So feel free to comment and share and let us know what you think.
And as a reminder, coming up May 1st, we're really going to bug you about this so you don't forget it. 8 p.m. Eastern special time, 5 Pacific. The Flash showrunner Eric Wallace will be on, and we'll get to talk to him. We're going to make him tell us if season 9 is going to be the final season, because they did renew for at least one more season.
They did, and that's huge. I mean, Eric Wallace, he's the showrunner. We've been waiting on that interview here for a while, so glad that it's finally happening.
Yeah, we'll get into more Flash stuff in a bit, I guess, but
we will.
We're going to start off, I guess, the main show talking about something that happened recently. We'll take a look at this.
Right, man. Talk about a bitch slap right there.
Yeah. And as he said, wow, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me.
Right.
And he did. Now, I got to say, when I first saw it, my roommate told me, he's like, did you see what happened with Will Smith? I'm like, what, did he die or something? No. And I pulled it up, saw it. Because like most people in the world, I don't care about the Oscars. I mean, I'm not saying nobody cares about them, but it's like a group of people giving themselves awards. But I thought it was interesting when this happened, because I'm like, okay, this kind of thing has happened before. Some stunt, okay, interest is going up. Now everybody's talking about the Oscars. Russia who? You know what I mean? And the more and more that I hear about it, the more and more I'm like, is it real actually? Because it seemed like one of those staged moments. Even in this screenshot right here, like Chris Rock looks like, oh my God, I guess I just got slapped. But after the slap, Will Smith walks away kind of all smirky, like, we did a good job. This is it. And then right after the slap, Chris Rock's like, wow, that was the best night in television history. I'm like, I know he's a comedian, so he's on his feet all the time and he's like sharp and everything, but I don't know, something about it just seemed off to me. And it still kind of does, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
I wasn't sure about it in the moment, whether it was real or not. And I think because we get so used to people, pretending things or setting things up for the sake of publicity. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I didn't watch the Oscars, but I found out about, oddly enough, the slap happened right around the same time that we were recording our episode on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I found out about it afterwards. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. But I went back and watched the footage a number of times. And to me, like there are a couple things that are hard, I think, for them to fake. Mm-hmm. Chris Rock gets up there and he does his joke. Now, mind you, he was joking about a lot of people. It wasn't just about Jada, but he makes a comment. He makes a G.I. Jane joke, who, by the way, G.I. Jane is a hot badass of a woman. She does have a short Susan Powter kind of haircut, but it was directed at Will's wife, Jada. And I get it. Jada's got alopecia. It's not a fashion style choice for her to cut it short. it's because she's losing her hair.
Mm-hmm.
But when they cut directly from the joke that Chris Rock told to Will Smith and Jada, you saw Will laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
And you saw Jada kind of like make that.
She's like,
yeah, sort of an eye roll,
yep.
not funny joke. And then they cut back over to Chris Rock. Clearly, the joke didn't go over with the audience all that well either, because it was seemed like he was kind of trying to apologize for it a little bit after he gave it. But in that like 5-10 seconds, that Will Smith pops up. He goes from laughing about it to deciding that he's going to stand up for his wife's honor, and Chris Rock clearly didn't know what was going on. He thought maybe there was a joke happening or whatever, but Will Smith just goes over and cracks him one, and then turns around and sits back down. And then he says his famous line, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
Mm-hmm. And he says it twice.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see that version first. I saw the one that aired. Apparently they cut the sound on the original airing, but then the uncensored audio and the whole clip uncut was out there as well. And when I heard that part, you can kind of see there was something in his eyes, like he was really kind of pissed off. So it's like, okay, I get it. And the theory, I guess, is that he thought the joke was funny. He's like, oh, he made fun of you. And then until she got mad, and he's like, oh, please don't cheat on me again. Let me go punch him or slap him or what. And that's the kind of idea that people are kind of saying. And I'm like, I don't know what to make of it all. I really don't. At first, I thought it was a publicity stunt, of course, and because it looked like Chris Rock prepared for it. He like puts his hands behind his back, was like almost like extending his face out for a slap, like he expected it. But then everybody denies that it was rehearsed. Everybody denies, isn't it? So maybe I have been watching too much wrestling lately and just look for storylines in everything I see. Like Local Building catches on fire. What's the storyline behind that? I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy situation though, either way.
Yeah, I get it. I'm always looking for, are people telling me the truth? Are they trying to manipulate me? The Oscars definitely needed ratings. They were lacking viewers, and it was a pretty dull event, all in all. That said, the problem is that if it was a stunt intentionally done to get people talking, the fact is that it totally overwhelmed everything else. Like nobody's talking about anything else that happened at the Oscars except for the slap. And I think as far as the fallout, I think about, I think Chris Rock ultimately, because of how he handled himself, I think he's going to end up doing pretty well. Will Smith, however, I think he's going to suffer some consequences, unfortunately, for what he did.
In terms of his career, I think he'll be fine. I really do, because at the end of the day, it was just a slap. How many people have been slapped? Fine. How many people have shot other people or stabbed other people and went on to have successful careers or just? So I don't think in the long run he'll be like canceled or anything. We're not going to see him be Roseanne or Harvey Weinstein or anything like that. But I think he'll have some issues. And we learned earlier today that he resigned from the Academy.
Yeah.
And says that, he'll accept all further consequences as he's heartbroken over his actions. And a lot of people are just like, oh, yeah, right. You're faking it. You don't care. Like you're a monster. I'll never watch Will Smith again. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to boycott Will Smith, because we're all human beings and we've all made mistakes and all made stupid decisions. And had anger and wanted to punch somebody. Some of us have, some of us have held back, but I mean, we've all had that rage inside of us at some point. That
I will say that I understand, being angry.
Yeah.
At the same time, there are times and places for things.
That's true.
In the middle of an award show, televised to the world, where you're going to be. I know, 13 people watching, but they're spread all over the globe.
Yeah.
But the idea that you're going to go and make a fool out of yourself, somehow standing up for your wife's honor, supposedly, it makes you look bad. And
It kind of
then,
does.
and then to turn around and then to get the Best Actor award, and then to get up and essentially give this teary acceptance speech, quasi apology. It's a little bit weird. I went and actually pulled up the transcript of it because I thought it was just a really strange thing for him to get up and read. I'm going to read it quickly here for you right now. If you didn't hear it already, well, you're going to hear it now. It says, I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to have people disrespecting you, and you got to smile, and you got to pretend like that's okay. But Richard Williams, and what I loved, thank you, Denzel Washington, he said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you. It's like, I want to be a vessel for love. I want to say thank you to Venus and Serena. Oh, I just spit. I hope they didn't see that. I want to say thank you to Venus and Serena and the entire Williams family for entrusting me with your story. That's what I want to do. I want to be an ambassador of that kind of love and care and concern. I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. This is a beautiful moment. I'm not crying for winning an award. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine a light on all the people. Tim and Trevor and Zach and Zanaya and Demi and June and the entire cast and crew of King Richard and Venus and Serena and the entire Williams family. Art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said. I look like the crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things. To my mother, a lot of this moment is really complicated for me. But to my mother, she didn't want to come out. She had her knitting friends. She has the knitting crew watching with her. Being able to love and care for my mother, my family, my wife. I'm taking up too much time. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for this moment. I thank you on behalf of Richard and Arancy, the entire Williams family. Thank you. I'm hoping the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
He got in one little fight and his mom got scared.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
his words, I heard clips of that originally. I didn't hear the full speech. And I believe, like, his tears were real. I don't feel like he, like, forced it out, like, but I've been in those moments, too. I'm never winning an award or thanking people and all that, but being in a situation like either a fight or like an outburst or something, and then being in that emotional state where like you're crying, but yet you're angry, and then you're still kind of like trying to process what you just did or what you just said. So I kind of get it, but
at the same time, the getting up there and doing that, it's all about love thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? It just really rung very hollow. You need to kind of deal with this first before I'm going to take you seriously about being about love. Because what you just did 30 minutes earlier, that wasn't about love.
It really wasn't. I mean, it was. I mean, I can kind of see where he's saying that if this is all this is legitimate, and he really felt like he was protecting her in some way. I mean, I don't know, but I can see that was his motivation, maybe. But you got to really think about the whole entire situation before making that decision to do something.
But if you talk about the fact that he's an icon that people look up to, I mean, in my generation, your generation, he was one of those people that people wanted to be him. They wanted to emulate him, and even kids that see his movies today, they want to look up to him as an example. And, whether he likes to admit it or not, he really did drop the ball.
I think so. And I also think that there's redemption because he didn't kill anybody. He didn't, not to say that what he did was okay, but I think there is a coming back from it. He didn't pass the point of no return.
I'm not saying that Will Smith is beyond redemption. Right. I am saying that maybe 30 minutes after the event happens, might be a little bit quick for redemption, right?
Yeah.
And certainly he's trying to spin it, right? He knows how bad that looked. Frankly, he was lucky that they didn't escort him out of the building, though they tried.
That was something I'm glad you brought up, because I thought it was interesting that it came out later that they asked him to leave and he said no. So they're like, okay. And they just let him stay and then gave him the award.
Yeah.
If you're about to kick someone out of the building, why are you then going to just hand them an award? You could have made the decision right there to go, second place guy, bring him up here, he wins.
Yeah.
And then Will Smith, he probably didn't even know he won before he actually won. So he could have just been none the wiser, and then that's one of the ways they could have punished him. Now everybody's like, take his award away, take his award away. I don't really have too much of an opinion. I'm leaning more towards don't take it away, because if you were going to do that, why didn't you just do it on the night? Why even give it to him in the first place? And then to turn around and try to take it back after, it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you think about it, like for a Miss America pageant, right? It's the same kind of thing that you can win Miss America, and then you end up doing something that brings shame to the office, and you can have it stripped and given to the runner-up. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are rules of conduct that are a part of being a member of the academy. And do our actions have consequences?
Yeah, I mean,
I know that one of the things that I've heard that I think warrants some merit is, that there are comedians who now, the idea that you could get up and tell a joke, and if somebody doesn't like it, they may end up coming after you. It does set kind of a dangerous precedent, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, especially if nothing is done, if they're just like, whatever, then people are like, well, okay, what's going to happen? Can't touch me. I get it. I do. And it just sucks. I'm not going to completely stop liking Will Smith. I mean, if he punched a baby or something, maybe I would be like, okay, I'm going to throw out I Am Legend or whatever movie seems. But I don't know. I really don't know how to. I was going to say I don't know how to deal with it. Like, it didn't happen to me, but I don't know. I still like his movies and stuff, so it's weird.
I think just like a lot of things, like we were talking about shows that we liked growing up. Like I grew up watching The Cosby Show, and I enjoy the show, and I even like the character Cliff Huxtable, though I think that Bill Cosby as a human being was despicable.
Yeah.
And the same thing where I grew up and my wife and I loved the show Roseanne. But Roseanne as a person, again, not all that great. I think you can separate the person, the actor or whoever it is from the material that they make.
I think so.
Yeah. That said, again, I do feel like, he opened just this big giant can of worms for himself as far as how things work, and he could end up, really paying some serious consequences, at least in regards to his Academy Award.
I'm yawning.
I'll try to put you to sleep.
No.
Last thing before we put this whole issue to bed, I think is, how hard the African American community has pushed in order to be more openly respected and celebrated in the Oscars. I mean, I remember the last couple of years they've had the hashtag Oscars So White, right?
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are waiting for an opportunity to say, see, this is what happens when you let people in, right? When you decide to diversify things, right? It was just a bad look, right?
It was.
There were so many ways they could have dealt with that, and the man thing to do would have been to grab your wife's hand, stand up, and walk out of the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
or do you sit there and you show your disapproval, and then you go pull Chris Rock aside afterwards?
Yeah, I think if he would have gotten up and, like you said, and what they would have walked out, and then they announced, well, Will Smith won, but he's not here. That would have made Chris Rock not I don't want to say the villain, but it would have been painted as the bad guy instead of the victim.
Yeah,
and Will Smith would have looked like the hero.
It would have totally changed things as far as how things went, and then Will Smith would have looked like a gentleman,
Yeah,
and not a madman.
Oh yeah, and but he made that mistake, and he'll have to deal with whatever comes next.
Yeah,
and hopefully he can redeem himself from this. I know there's going to be some people out there that'll never trust him or whatever again, and unfortunately that happens. But I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll suffer too much. And it's a weird kind of transition to go, but like I wanted to talk about Bel Air because Will Smith is an executive producer, but he is not in the show as far as playing a role or a character. This picture here is the main cast, and we'll kind of go through a list here of like who's portraying which character. But you can see Will front and center there, and then to his right, the bald guy is Uncle Phil, and Aunt Viv is sitting down in front of him, and then Hillary's to the right. Carlton's the little short dude in the blue suit, and a little Ashley, and then Jazz off to the side over here. So the main characters from the same, well, not the same show, but from Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So looking at, you can kind of see, I'm not going to read off. Well, I guess I can read them off. I'm going to butcher some of their names probably. Jabari Banks is Will Smith. He's in it says 11 episodes, but they really only have 10. So I don't know what the 11 is.
They clearly made an extra one. So are you, okay, I see.
Yeah, I just kind of like took the cast list to show people kind of who played the characters, because none of the people in the show are played by the same, that they were totally new actors.
No, I thought it was crazy that Jabari Banks, I mean, his literal name is already Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that was strange too. And then looking down, this is a bigger, because it's the last three. We have the Lisa, which remember was Will's girlfriend in the original show. She's in this quite a bit. And then Jazz, and then Uncle Phil is Adrian Holmes, which is a completely different take on I'm like, I can't think of his name, even though it's right in front of me.
Right.
Thanks. It's a completely different take than James Avery. I mean, it's a completely different character. The overall tone of the show is completely different. A lot of people are trash talking it, like, this isn't funny. They need to stop making reboots. This is stupid. I really love it. It's a darker tone. It's like, I think it's rated like TV MA. There's a lot of language. There's no nudity or anything like that, but there's a lot of language. And it's really weird to hear Will and Carlton like cussing each other and all this. I'm like, whoa, what show is this? But it's a different take. I feel like it's what would happen today in today's society if this happened now instead of 1990, whatever year that show came out. And that's all I can really say without spoiling too much of it, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. I think that it's always tough when it comes to a remake, right? Because you walk into it with an expectation of something. And yeah, I mean, that was one of those shows that growing up, my brother and I, my mom and my dad, we would all watch it together. I mean, it was just one of those things. And I think there was something relatively wholesome about it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I have not yet watched it, but I'm curious just to see in what way are they paying homage to the original, and in what ways are they going and doing some, kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the first thing you see is like, okay, the main concept is the same. You have, he's in West Philadelphia in the beginning. There's a fight. He goes to LA, goes to Bel Air, starts living with his aunt and uncle, rich family, all his cousins. Like, the main concept in the principal cast is all the same, but it's modernized. So there's like iPods and social media and all this stuff. There's talks of drug issues. There's a lot of the modern things that people deal with today that weren't really talked about as much back then. But then again, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air back then, address some pretty serious storylines. And but this one's like all serious. The whole show is like a darker tone. There's no Batman flying around, but they did. It's much different. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it has its moments where it's kind of funny, but the characteristics of each character are a lot different. I feel like Will is probably the closer to the Will Smith Will from Fresh Prince, as far as his character traits, his sense of humor. He calls Jeffrey G, calls Carlton C, things like that. But it is a lot different.
Yeah.
It's an interesting show. If anybody, has Peacock, or if you don't and you end up getting Peacock at some point, you could check it out. It's 10 episodes. They are about 45 to 50 minutes long. So typical 1 hour show. Yeah. And there's no theme song like the original. I was thinking they just do the same song and update it. Yeah, and sadly there is no Will Smith cameo in the show, at least in the first season. I don't feel like that's a spoiler because nothing happened from it. I was really hoping we'd see that, but
yeah,
maybe now it's good that he didn't.
If there's no theme song, can it really be called The Fresh Prince of Bel Air?
Well, it's not really called The Fresh Prince of it's just Bel Air.
Bel Air.
Yeah, so there's the whole, but there is like a Prince theme kind of in points of the show. You'll kind of see.
I mean, we all know that it's a take on Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Oh yeah, it's a
rose by any other name would smell as sweet. You gotta love though that song made every white guy think he could be a rapper.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. I ran around when I was like a kid, running around singing that song.
Yeah.
I remember hearing the first time I heard the extended version. I was like singing along until I got to the part where I hadn't heard before. I'm like, what?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm puzzled. Yeah. I'm like, when he's on the actual airplane, there was a version of that intro where he did the full song, and he's on the airplane, and I'm like, wait a minute, airplane?
I think the very first episode has the entirety of it, and then at some point they abbreviate it.
I think the song went away I know it's a different show, but the song went away with wherever Judy Winslow is. That's where that song is.
Right.
And I can say that in this show, in the Fresh Prince, the Bel Air, that Aunt Viv didn't change halfway through.
Well,
although
it's still early.
It's still early. They could have a different one next season.
They filmed 3 episodes and they were sorry it's not working out. We're gonna recast you.
Yeah, I mean there are a couple little cameos in this show. I'm not gonna spoil it or anything, but it's fun. I like the show. And but yeah, Bel Air. Streaming now on Peacock.
Yeah.
Also available on Peacock. WWE WrestleMania. Sorry, it's one more little plug. They're not paying me to do that, but that would be amazing.
They should. Peacock should totally support us.
Yes, Mr. Ed Peacock, the CEO of Peacock. We'll take $1 million check any day. Tomorrow works. It works. Yeah. Sunday will be good too.
We're even negotiable about the number.
Yeah. I'll take 999,000.
Sure.
I don't need the full $1 million.
I'll take a full $1 million, but you can take less.
See, I'm generous. I'm going to donate that dollar to
Make-A-Wish.
Yeah. Now I feel bad. I'll give him $2. I'll give him $2. I mean, but yeah. So from there, I guess that's the last of the show. We'll never do it again. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. That's April Fool's. Ha ha.
Right. Right.
I'm not very creative when it comes to that. I'll think of something tomorrow that would have been great today.
You know what? I was so glad that I didn't wake up this morning and have cellophane on the toilet, or like my wife made me breakfast this morning and there wasn't anything weird in it.
That's good.
I heard somebody had put toothpaste in Oreos.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I've seen those things before. And even somebody brought in bagels and cream cheese this morning for work, and it was real bagels and real cream cheese. So I was so glad that other than having to go into work on Friday, there wasn't an April Fool's joke. So
That's good. I used to try to do stuff to people all the time. Now I'm just, I don't know. I don't trust news headlines. And had the Oscars been today, I would not have believed that slap story.
Oh, I know. Well, and you know what's crazy is like if you go on social media at all, you just have to know I'm not going to believe anything that people post on social media. Like if somebody says they're pregnant, I'm sorry, unless I see the stick, I don't believe that you're pregnant. You're going to wait and tell me tomorrow, and I might believe you.
Yeah, I'm not pregnant. I can gladly say.
Well, and like one of the funny things, like I went and saw Morbius
Okay.
at the movie theater last night with Corey, and I enjoyed it. But posting about it made it seem like I was doing an April Fool's joke, right?
Yeah, it kind of did. I was like, wait a minute, is there a joke here?
No, I legit enjoyed it. Though, I mean, is it the greatest movie of all time? No, but I thought it was certainly better than Eternals.
Okay, that's
So,
fair. I mean, I haven't seen Morbius yet, but I mean, I might get to see it soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe one of those ones that I don't watch for 6 years and then watch on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I
or
think
not Disney Plus, but whatever. Yeah, Disney Plus.
Yeah,
That's
right. It's definitely watchable. I think I would watch it again. I think a lot of it though is they're using that movie to sort of build towards something else.
Okay, so that sounds cool. I did go back and watch the deleted scene. Well, we'll get to the Flash and stuff in a minute, but like I went back and watched on YouTube today the deleted scene from the Batman.
Okay.
With the Joker. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I did.
Yeah, and apparently it was this whole scene and that was shot for the movie, and they just took it out. We see a little clip of Joker at the end of the movie. I mean, you assume it's Joker. We know it's Joker, but they don't say it's Joker. But this was a full, like, what was it, 5-minute scene or something like that? And it was pretty crazy. It's pretty intense. Yeah. I mean, like, I really enjoyed that Joker. Even though his face was blurred the entire time behind the glass, it was still cool. It was still interesting.
They were really doing a Silence the Lambs kind of thing, where they were using Joker to be like a profiler and to give them insight into who it was that was doing all the killing and everything else. Honestly, while I enjoyed that extra scene and it was neat to kind of see it after the fact, I thought that the original kept the storyline much more acutely focused on, on the Riddler. And so I don't think it was needed in there. I thought it was enough to have him at the very, very end.
I do too, because then it would have been all focused on all people would have been talking about was the Joker scene.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you see the Joker? Did you see? And it would have felt like Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad, which is really weird to say, but why couldn't they just called it number 2? But the first Suicide Squad with Joker, it just felt like he was just shoved in there. And I know they said they filmed a lot more Joker stuff than that for that movie, but did they even need as much as they had? Because that wasn't a Joker movie. Just like The Batman wasn't a Joker movie. It had, so I like that he had a little hint at the end just to go, oh, he's there. He exists in this world.
Right.
But not too much to go like, well, you think he's going to catch up with something? Who cares? What about the Joker? Did you see that guy? Like, that's all they would talk about. So I'm glad they could kind of cut it out. Unless that was going to be maybe halfway through the movie, which they had enough time to do 2 storylines. They could have had him catch Joker halfway through and then had the Riddler in the second half. Or but no. I mean, if the movie's not about you or featuring you, then and it's a Joker is like the major Batman character, the villain. So if you're going to have him, have the story be around him, set around him. If not, then you don't really need him. I don't know. But yeah, the Flash. That was my Flash move. I don't know.
I know. That was quite the segue too.
Yeah, it was really flashy and quick. That was even worse.
Oh. I've got to be. So I feel like this season is sort of all over the place. If that makes sense.
Kinda. Yeah.
I mean, so the beginning of it was all about that Armageddon storyline, which I liked.
Yeah, it was good.
But it doesn't seem tied to anything that's come after it.
It really doesn't.
Which I thought they might do. Now, mind you, it may be that they are just simply waiting to tie that in later on, but
could be.
it seemed like it was two completely different storylines.
Mm.
But even the part that we had got with Impulse and Excess, they did that one episode, and we haven't gone back to that storyline at all either.
Yeah, that was weird.
And so, yeah, it just was a little bit. It's just a little odd for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Armageddon story was more or less not, I don't want to say forced, but done to act as like a crossover since they didn't get to do the proper crossover they wanted to do.
Right.
And so they kind of squeezed that into the Flash because that was like the next thing coming up and all that.
Right.
And it made sense. It fit. It worked. So I can kind of see how they might not have connected that to the rest of the season. Plus, there was like another 2-month break in between. So it kind of made sense to kind of come back, reset, and this is the new season, kind of. But also, I kind of like the format they've been doing the last couple of years where they'll have 2 different villains, 2 different story arcs for the season instead of one long story. That's very interesting because it does feel more comic book-like, where you'll have like this book and then this book and then this book for this series instead of all one long book that's like 100 pages that you have to like a phone book comic, you know?
Right.
I like that. But you gotta have to tie it up a little bit with each other. You know, you can't just like, okay, here's one story, here's another story, here's another story. That works in a particular episode where you have like an A and a B story, but like when you're going over the course of a season, you've got like 3 different storylines going on in scattered order and weird connections. Like it doesn't seem, you kind of get lost or confused and forget that this happened.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a place right now where I don't care as much as I should about these characters.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? I still don't care about Chester. I really don't care a whole lot about Allegra. I feel like you could totally get rid of everything happening at Iris's newspaper, and it would not really be a big deal. You'd go, you know,
yeah.
I realize that we usually stay really positive about stuff, and we try to, but I feel like, especially with this last episode, that it just didn't hit me the way that I want to when I watch The Flash.
Yeah, and it definitely wasn't their worst stuff. I mean, I think the whole Mirrorverse storyline at the end of that season was the worst they've ever done. Not that it was terrible and unwatchable, but it was the worst they've done. This isn't as bad. I look at the other characters too, and I think like Chester and Allegra, I feel like if I saw them, like looking at them on the show is kind of like seeing strangers about to get hit by a bus, and you're like, oh no, that's terrible. Doesn't really affect me, but that sucks. And then you walk along. But if you go over and see your cousin or your uncle or something get hit by the bus, then you're like, oh God, and you actually care. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, they've been on the show long enough. I should have some kind of emotional connection with them.
Yeah, I mean, I connect more, not connect, but I care more about Chester than I do Allegra. And it's not to say like nobody likes the women, but he has more purpose, I think, on the team itself. Like the tech guy, this he has more of a connection to that and more of a purpose than she doesn't really do a lot. Same with Killer Frost at this point. She's just like, want me to chill that ice cream for you? I mean, like, really? Like, she doesn't do much anymore.
She doesn't. And it seems like every time that she has even the opportunity to use her powers, they're relatively ineffective.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, great. Finally, you're going up against someone or something that has fire as their ability, and her ice doesn't seem to put it out.
No.
I'm like, well, so you're worthless.
Pretty much. I mean, she could always build an ice bridge to help Barry run up something faster, but I mean, aside from that,
she could. But they've really, you know, we use the term, you know, nerfing somebody. They've really nerfed her about as much as you can nerf somebody.
And same with Chester in a way. I mean, he was able to figure out like how to track the thing, but then they realized when they got to the flame like the Human Torch, whatever you want to call him, the DC Torch, what I don't know, some kind of phantom, whatever it is, that he's not really there. There's not really a person in it like they thought. And I like the idea of the story. And I was hoping it wasn't going to be Chester's dad. I'm like, no. And you see his dad, I'm like, I literally like shook my head like, no. And then it turns out it wasn't really his dad. It was just it telling him that it was his dad.
Right.
But how many times Calypso, I'm sorry. Yeah, it reminded me so much of Eclipso from Stargirl.
But Eclipso did it better.
He did. And he looked cooler. Like he was
much better.
It was so epic. I couldn't believe that you saw that on a TV show, not a film. Not to say that the storyline's bad, but because I'm interested to see if that's really connected to Ronnie Raymond at all. Because if we're talking about a ghost, it could be whatever he became in that singularity coming back out. Right. And the cold fusion, and then the whole thing with Caitlin not being able to do anything about it, like it's or Killer Frost, I guess I should say. It just seems like there's a connection, or at least they're making us think there's a connection.
I was really hoping, that finally we would get Ronnie back in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean we won't, but it does seem like they're going in a kind of a different direction.
I hope whatever they do with this, I just hope it's not like a new force where it's like it's the Fire Force and that's what's coming after us. Like there's so many. Barry and Iris already have 4 Force children. The thing that created Barry is now his daughter. Like not Nora, but the Speed Force itself is his daughter. When you think about that, it's like what?
It was a little that's a little weird to me, frankly. I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. And then have you noticed that both Barry and Iris have been exceptionally distant to each other?
Yeah, you never see them together at all.
No, there was one scene where they were having like breakfast together, but he goes to work and she heads to her job, and they don't even like kiss goodbye.
Yeah, they don't even like wave or anything. They do seem pretty distant. Like that's got to have something to do with even
the end of this episode had Barry and Iris communicating via via Zoom, right? They were like, I'm like, Barry, you run super fast. You could literally be there in a snap of the fingers. The idea that you have to FaceTime or Zoom or whatever to talk to your wife. I've heard some rumors. I'm not sure if they're true, but I've heard some rumors that Candace Patton and Grant Gustin do not like each other very much.
I'm not sure that's true. Because I've also heard him, it's been like a year or more back, but when everybody was kind of like, we don't like Iris. We don't like it. And there was a lot of comments on the internet, a lot of people hating that, like, oh, not only like she's this African-American woman, we hate her. Like, there was this big fuss about her for some reason. And then I saw him go on, whatever it was, a video on the internet, and was like, look, she's our Iris. She will always be our Iris. We love her, blah, blah, blah. Respect, honor, and all this stuff. So maybe, I mean, things happen. People get mad at each other. People drift. People, who knows? I did find it weird that they had to be on Zoom, though. Yeah. I just kind of like chalked that up to, wherever she's at, she's very public. And if he speeds over there, they're going to wonder how he got there so fast. Like, it just seems strange. It does.
With all of their distance, you wonder when they're going to find the time to make 2 speed babies. It just seems odd.
I don't know, unless I don't know. There's some kind of weird way that they could do it without touching each other through Zoom or something. Like,
I mean, artificial insemination is a thing.
He could just super speed it in somehow. I don't know.
That's terrible, by the way.
If Bart and Nora don't start fading away, then, and maybe that's what's going on with, no, that's not, I was going to say maybe that's what's going on with Iris, where like she'll lose time. She has this time sickness. And as we know, the Still Force comes back and was like, I'm back. And it ain't good news. That's like the very tail end of the episode. So you don't know what the deal is. Is she dying? Is she going to revert back in time and become a baby? Maybe she is Nora. Ooh, I don't know. I think that's linked somehow to basically Iris is becoming a superhero, I think, which is going to be weird. I kind of hope it kills her. I mean, not like kills her, but like, I guess I did mean that. But I don't want her to die necessarily. Like, but if she becomes a hero, it's going to be all about her being a hero and with Barry being a hero. And it's just
right.
There's too much hero going on. Like, there needs to be like the Flash.
I have to admit that I have liked the fact that Iris is out of Star Labs.
Yes, I do love that.
Her own thing. I never really liked her being in the Cortex calling the shots. I just didn't feel like that was her place to be. But now I feel almost the opposite, that it draws attention to how divided they are and how separated they are.
Maybe they're doing that on purpose. Maybe they're like, it's a creative tool they're using to like drive them apart emotionally as characters in the story, so that they're going to be wondering like, oh my gosh, now it's going to be just like Back to the Future, where like Nora and Bart are going to be like, we have to make mom and dad get together and kiss at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and that way that could be part of the time thing. And then I don't know.
Now that would be hilarious.
To
me, that sounds more like a Legends kind of plot.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence this season. I'm still watching it, still enjoying it, but I feel like I'm watching it more as a critic than a fan right now.
I feel like I'm just watching it. Like, I'm not really loving everything about it, but I'm not hating it either. I'm just like, it's happening. I do like the Flame storyline, whatever you want to call the character or the being, whatever. I'm just really interested to see where it goes. If it's going to be a person, if it's going to be whatever. Maybe it's Trickster again. Like, who knows? Like,
right.
I'm excited about where that's leading.
But I just don't necessarily want the Flash to become supernatural.
No, I don't think it's an actual ghost. And if it is, maybe it's... Never mind. That can't be. That's like more and more. I was like, maybe it's Ghost Rider, but no, that's a completely different thing. I just hope it's linked to somebody we already know. Because if they add something new, like, I'm trying to think of DC characters that were based around fire, and I don't know any. Like, every season we've had a villain from a comic. We had Reverse Flash. We had Professor Zoom, Professor Zoom in the comics, which that's more confusing because in the comics they were kind of the same guy, Zoom and Eobard Thawne, but so they kind of split that for the show a little bit. But we got all these classic villains. Now we're getting people or things that don't make any sense, like a giant ghost blue flame that's coming after you. Is this like Castlevania, or is like some weird kind of like Dracula type thing? I don't know. It's interesting to see where it goes, but I really hope it's not an actual ghost. I
know. Well, I feel like, with Eric Wallace coming up, I will save my criticism.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of questions we can ask him about, what kind of thought processes they went through for this season and everything else. So.
And we're not that far into the Flash.
No.
Less than halfway, I think. And we have one more month, and that's really only time for 4 more episodes. So we're not even going to be at the finale before he comes on. So we can trick him into spoiling the finale for us.
Right.
And so we're like, look, Eric, straight up, we're kind of bored with this. So tell us how it's going to end. We'll pause the live feed. Wink, wink. Click. I paused it. Now tell us what happens. Oh my gosh, I forgot to pause it. No, I wouldn't do that, but. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun just to kind of see where he goes. And he might be able to put it into perspective, because I hated Marvel's outlook on time travel. After Endgame, I'm like, that Back to the Future is total bullshit. No, this movie is. I hated that. Then Mark Guggenheim was like, well, you have to understand Marvel. Da, da, da. And by the time he got finished talking, I was like, I really respect what they did with Marvel. I mean, he put it into a different perspective.
Right.
So I feel like Eric could probably do that with us. He's going to tell us and convince us that we are the Flash is the greatest thing in television.
I wouldn't go quite that far.
I mean,
but I'll give him the chance. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
It could happen.
Yeah.
So, Superman and Lois. Flagman.
So as frustrating and disappointed as I find the Flash, Superman and Lois is sort of like this this consistent show that I know every single time that I watch it, I'm gonna enjoy it. And I really do feel like that was what this episode for me was all about, right?
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm posing the shredder. I think so. I really like how that show is continuing to either up their game or stay on par with what they've been doing. They haven't dropped yet, which I'm not saying I hope they do. And I love how the stories, they always trick us. They like to trick us. And as soon as you think something's going to happen, something else happens.
Exactly.
And I've got to point out, I know this is kind of and we can say that it's what happens at the very end of the episode. So we can probably save that, I guess.
Yeah.
I love the Jordan having to, basically Lois finds out what's going on with him, with the whole training with his grandfather and all that. There's so much in this episode to really unpack.
There really is. Well, and we know that he's been training with his grandfather, and what was really evident here in this episode was the fact that it's really paid off. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jordan goes in and essentially saves Mr. Cushing's life, and literally rescues him from being turned into a crispy critter. And then we also see that Jordan freezes somebody solid and then punches him out and essentially flies.
That was the crazy part.
Yeah. And so, in my opinion, I mean, he's really coming into his own in this episode a lot.
I liked how he had this argument with Lois, like, you saved a person? How dare you? I'm like, shut up. I'm like, does anybody know where Will Smith is? Because she needs to.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, maybe not that bad. But, yeah, I thought, I get why she was upset. But at the same time, it was like he was doing a good thing. He was being a hero. I don't know why you're so. Like a fire's gonna kill him. Like, what are you afraid of? Like, he's not gonna get hurt.
Well, we know that he's not. That he doesn't have the invulnerability.
I think he might have it a little bit, but maybe not completely invulnerable. He might not be bulletproof.
We've seen his knuckles get bloody. We've seen his sheet get scratched. He's not invulnerable, or it has not kicked in yet. He did put himself at risk. However, who else was going to do it?
Yeah, really, was she going to do it?
Right?
No, I mean, was the fire department couldn't even. He was the fire department,
right?
This
would have been totally something that that Clark would have done.
Exactly.
If he was there. And I think what we see here is Jordan really stepping up and filling in that role of being Superman in his dad's absence. But what to me was crazy though is Lois she's the queen of the castle, right? At home, nobody messes with Lois. She even puts Clark in his place.
Yeah.
Right? And there was Jordan, and and she goes and tries to put him in his place, and he basically says, "I don't have to listen to you. I have powers."
Yeah, and that was like, oh,
and I was like, and he just walks away. I'm like, ooh, I can't believe that she just let him say that, and then he's still breathing.
I mean, honestly, the only way to really stop him or put him in his place would have been kryptonite at that point, honestly.
Well, do we know if kryptonite even affects him?
Yeah, well, I think it does. Didn't it? I was thinking that he was exposed to kryptonite at least once. earlier on, but maybe I can't remember. But yeah, honestly, there's really without Clark there, there's nothing now. If Clark was there, he wouldn't have said that to him. He would have been like, "I have powers." He would be like, "Me too," and like put him in his place.
He's really gotten cocky.
He's
really gotten cocky. Some might say he's too big for his britches, and that does come down to the difficult question: how do you discipline somebody who has superpowers like Superman? You can't just bend him over your knee and spank him.
No,
and you can't necessarily just send him to his room without dinner. And I think right now what we see here is that Lois is in a situation where things are no longer in her control. You know what I mean?
She's kind of powerless in this.
She is. She's very. She's essentially holding the wrench. Badly, one son, Jonathan, who was supposed to be, the good child, the perfect child. Jonathan is, dealing with being expelled, and they still don't know how to resolve that situation. And then, and then Jordan wants to become his father.
Yeah, and with the thing with Jonathan, we see the how did the situation happen? They were like, look, you have to tell us where you got those drugs. You have to, because all these people are about to die or whatever it was. And he finally comes clean. He's like, okay, they worked out a deal where she has immunity. She doesn't go to jail. She doesn't get in trouble. Nothing happens to her. He brings her into the house. Like, this is the one. I'm telling on her now. And that seems to make a difference because, whenever that happens, you see a scene with them later, Jonathan and, oh God, what's her name? Candace, I think, right?
Yeah.
You see them walking or in a room or something together, and they're like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Because we had kind of talked about how maybe she was just pushing the blame onto him, like she didn't really have the same feelings. But now it kind of seems like now that the heat's off of her, she still kind of seems at least pretending to be interested in him still. So I don't know where that might go.
I see my issue with Candace is, and I know that they've written her this way, is she essentially has gotten away scot-free, right? She's been allowed to go and sell drugs at school, and there hasn't been really any consequence for her.
No, not at
all. And what's worse is that, again, Jonathan doesn't realize that he's fallen in love with his drug dealer, who has been using his, manipulating his heart to get him to buy drugs. I think that's jacked up. And when he finally realizes that she really doesn't love him, I think that's going to hurt a lot. What I loved though was Lois's response, right? Jonathan brings in his girlfriend, who has been revealed to be the drug dealer, and Lois looks right at her and says, "Hello, Candace." And I was like, "Wow, if Lois had heat vision, Candace would be dead right now."
Yeah, or at least her top of her head would be all singed. And
oh yeah, she would be a crispy critter.
That's tough. I do want to see where that story goes, though. I mean, I feel like maybe there's a part of Candace that really does like Jonathan, but I don't know. She could be just using him and manipulating him. But then the question is, what is she looking for now that the heat's off of her? What? Maybe convincing him to do it again, or finding a way to get this or that. There's tons of ways it could go. Yeah. I'm excited. And I kept waiting all the last several weeks when we saw those set photos of Jonathan in the Superboy outfit. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then tonight, the last episode, we see at the end, we see this Jonathan's walking up. They're like, then I see the black jacket. I'm like, oh. And then, well, that's not our Jonathan. Like, how do you know? How does she know right away that it's not him? She just does. And he starts speaking in reverse. Then I immediately thought back to when you mentioned 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was, that this Jonathan from these set photos is going to be attached to this Bizarro universe. And that's what it seems like. It seems like this Superboy that we've seen in these pictures is a Bizarro Superboy.
Yeah. Now, there are some theories out there, specifically Misty from Great Geeks Debate, who is really hoping that this gives an opportunity for either for Jonathan to fuse with his Bizarro self and get powers.
Could be.
Or for Jonathan and Jordan to fuse, being that they are two parts of one whole.
Yeah.
I think both of those options are a possibility.
I would still find it weird because at this point we've gotten used to both kids. So if they merge together in some weird way to kind of that maybe the timeline cements and catches back up to where it was supposed to be or something.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we have another Jonathan already. And so, okay, there's Jonathan and Jordan. It makes sense. Like they're still both there. You're not getting rid of one. And one actor isn't leaving the show. So, but it would still be that lingering, like, that's not really Jonathan.
Right.
You know, and it would still.
Who are you? Me. I'm Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yes.
I'm Jonathan Kentington. I don't know. Kent Ington. I don't know where the Ington came from, but Jonathan Kentington. That's confusing.
So I will say though, I'm excited. I know that we had seen those photos of Jonathan in the leather jacket with that sort of rough S on his chest.
Yeah.
Looking exactly like the classic Superboy. And so I think we were all hoping that it was the Jonathan Kent that we knew going and doing that it is the Bizarro version of him.
It is, yeah.
And
it really gives it away when he's speaking in reverse. But what I found interesting was like Lois is like, "You're not our Jonathan. Where's Clark?" And he was too late. Like he shrugged it off and spoke normally.
Yeah.
Bizarro couldn't do that with that unless he was like under like this weird ray or whatever thing that they did to him to make him speak clearly. So I don't see how this Jonathan was able to do that. But it, maybe he could sense the other Jonathan and tap into his mind and same way.
We don't know how long, Bizarro Jonathan has been there.
Yeah, it's true. He could have been there a lot longer.
We know that Superman has been gone for a month.
Yeah.
So
and we see him at the end. Because we see Bizarro Jonathan says like he was too late or he didn't make something like that. And then we see Clark or Superman laying down like, oh my God, or something's about to happen. And then it just goes away.
Yeah.
I'm just like, really? They're going to leave us there? Okay. So I don't know what we see. I don't know what we're going to see in this Bizarro world. Clearly it didn't kill him to go there. He's still alive. So he didn't make it back for what? I guess these two alleys merged, and now we're going to have this weird demonic parasite character that we're supposed to have. So at least that's what I hope.
Yeah. One of the things that we don't know, but we can probably guess, is the light on this Bizarro Earth is red.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He wouldn't have powers. He would actually be weak under the sun, probably.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not weak, but he would just be like a regular person.
So that really could explain a lot about why he doesn't just go and turn around and come back.
Right. He literally can't.
Right.
So I have a feeling that like John Henry or somebody is going to have to go get him in the ship or something like that. Or Jonathan and Jordan. That should be a law firm. Jonathan and Jordan. We're here for your legal super needs. Like, I don't know. I feel like somebody's going to have to go get him. Or Bizarro isn't dead after all, and Bizarro saves him or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. And to throw it out there, people follow us on Twitter and all that. I forgot to put the ticker on earlier, so at least we went live though. I didn't forget to go live. I forgot to put the ticker on, but
okay.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook and all that fun stuff.
So here's something that's interesting to me. Is we know that Bizarro Jonathan is the one who has powers.
Yeah.
What we don't know is there a Bizarro Jordan?
I don't think there is. I mean, there might be, but
so to me, wouldn't that be crazy if this is the time when it finally comes out that
Jordan isn't real.
Jordan isn't real, that he shouldn't exist, that he was a product of the crisis.
That would be great.
You know what? You think about, for all the progress that he's made, that would be like the kind of the twist that would really tear him apart.
Yeah, because nobody in that world, at least in that, well, it's the same world, it's still Earth Prime, but nobody in that story and those characters, that Superman and Lois world, know anything about pre-crisis.
Right.
All they know is what this life is, because when it reset, that was their history.
They definitely haven't talked about it.
Yeah. Well, I was just going on what they were saying before. He was like, yeah, I'm playing Superman, as if he doesn't know anything about what happened before. So they haven't officially said that. That was just the actor's perspective, his thoughts on it. But it makes sense, because you look at the show, there's been zero reference to Crisis, with the exception of Diggle coming in for like 10 seconds. And that is the only shred of any kind of connection they've had to anything outside of that show. And which I like, because it, stands on its own. It doesn't need all these cameos and guest stars and stuff to really push a story. They can do it all on their own. And I don't think any of the other shows have been able to do that very successfully, except for Flash season 1.
Right.
But even then, well, no, none of that was crossover. There was no, well, I mean, they kind of did the little Green Arrow stuff, but like, I don't really count that as leaning on Arrow to survive.
We had gotten quite a bit of crossover with Barry and what's her face? Felicity.
Oh right? Yeah, okay.
There was quite a little bit of that going on, kind of traveling back and forth, and
that's true.
Everything.
But they really didn't rely on it. It wasn't like a crutch to keep the show going. It was a bonus.
No.
Like it added to it. But yeah, I'm glad Superman and Lois hasn't done a lot of that. But I think it's getting to the point where it's time, after 1.5 seasons or so, they really need to. They don't need to do it, but I feel like you got to shake things up at some point, because eventually you're going to run out of stories. You're going to hit every teenager growing up storyline. You're going to hit every frustrated housewife storyline. You're going to hit every struggling superhero dad storyline. You're going to hit everything at some point. You're going to go through all the villains, and you're going to need. And
with all of these heroes being on Earth Prime, you would think that at some point they would end up bumping into each other. So
yeah,
that would it would just be a missed opportunity if they don't. I feel like we haven't talked about Sarah and Jordan at all. This entire season, their relationship has been rocky, might be putting it mildly.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's rough.
It really is. Between what happened with Sarah at summer camp, and then
there was no flute, was there?
No, not
wasn't band camp.
This is
wasn't band camp. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, this is not band camp, but it might as well have been.
Yeah.
And then her desire to stay with Jordan, but still be friends with the girl that she kissed. And
that was weird.
I think the other part of it is that Jordan isn't able to be honest with her about who he is and what he's doing, and as a result, Sarah's not stupid. She knows that Jordan is keeping things from her, and I think that she, she's dealt enough with her dad keeping secrets, and lying and not being there for her when she needs her or when
Mhm.
she needs him. She doesn't want to be involved with a guy who is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and every time we talk about this show, I always go, they did that in Smallville. But I love that. I love how they can take certain things from that show, not like they created that dramatic, like I can't tell you my secret, like story. They didn't create it, but I like how, this show being set in Smallville is doing storylines from Smallville, but they're adding things to it. They're making it better. They're not replacing Smallville, but I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or if it's just like, oh, that's neat that that's the same thing. But it's like the son of Superman and the daughter of Lana, who dated in Smallville, same story, but yet I don't know what it is, but I like it.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. Like I like how that is, and he's around that age, and she's around that age, but it's a different story. It's so different. I love how they can take that seed and go, okay, no, how can we make our own version of this and do it in a different way for more modern times, and for a kid that's not even real.
Yeah.
Because Jordan's just a hologram. I mean, maybe not a hologram, but I do feel like they're going to address that part at some point.
I think that it would be an opportunity missed if they didn't.
Yeah. And but yeah, speaking of their relationship, at the end of the episode, we see them kind of break up because she's like, I've had enough of this. And she's just as crushed as he is to do this. And then she goes to her dad's apartment, and we see growth from that, because this whole time he's been in that apartment, he has like a lamp and like an old cable spool that's like as a coffee table, or like the typical, like, I don't have anything in my apartment, just a candle and a pillow. And she's like, you got to decorate. No. She's like, it might not be temporary, and like yells at him. Then she goes to him all crying, and then he decides, okay, I'll let you help me decorate. Because he's actually being there for her finally, like for real. Because he also needs her.
It's crazy that it takes him to get kicked out of the house for him to step up and be there for Lana when she needed him, and also to be there for Sarah. I think that it's unfortunate that he didn't step up sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But at least, Sarah's not letting that keep them apart.
And honestly, I don't think that Lana and Kyle get back together, at least not anytime soon. Will they eventually? Possibly. But I don't think they're going to get together for the rest of the season. It's not going to be one of those like 3 or 4 episodes of shake my finger at you and then, okay, welcome back. And I don't think it's as simple this time.
No, I think you're right. There has been some teasing about the potential for a love interest between Lana and John Henry.
Yeah, that would be an interesting.
And that would be really interesting. And it just makes you wonder how would that affect John Henry and his role as Steel?
Does he tell her who he is?
Right. Well, and if he tells her who he is, would Superman eventually do the same thing? Would she finally get let into the circle?
Yeah, and eventually, though, I think I was going to say Lana has to find out at some point in the series, in the course of the show, because but that is one cool thing, though. I'll have to say, like the Superman and Lois that every other superhero show seems to have done, no matter what they are, was by the end of the first season, everybody in town knows who this character is. But yet, Superman and Lois, nobody has found out that didn't already know in the very first episode.
Right.
So that's interesting that because Smallville, by like the end of the first season, his best friend Pete knew about it. And then Flash, by the end of the first season, everybody but Iris knew.
Right.
And it's just, they can't seem to keep their identity secret to anybody. But it's cool that they're being able to do it in this way.
As opposed to someone like Oliver Queen, who
hey, I'm Arrow.
Well, I know he was pretty good about
he was good
hiding his identity.
He was. I think Clark gets away with it because he's in Smallville. If he were in Metropolis or if he were in like any other city, he might have by this point been like, oh yeah. But then again, they were in
Metropolis though for 20 years.
That's true.
20 years in Metropolis, and nobody figured out that he was Superman.
Did he tell Jimmy? I think he told Jimmy.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from that, like nobody else really knew. Perry White probably didn't know. Like all these other people didn't know.
I mean, Jimmy knowing that he was Superman is what led him to become Guardian.
That's true. Yeah. It's been so long since I saw that. I completely forgot how that went.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, I feel like it's a smaller town, so there's not as many people to really tell. But at the same time, with a smaller town, people talk, and eventually somebody's going to mess up. And you would think Lana, of all people, would have at least been like, wait a minute.
No, I feel like of anybody there, Lana should know who he is, right?
But,
and
yeah,
and maybe the real joke is that just like Sarah, knows more than she lets on. I think Lana knows more than she lets on too.
Part of me, I think so too. I think Lana at least might. Well, Sarah, I mean, at least knows something because she was very, very upset out of nowhere. Well, you could tell she'd been faking, so it wasn't out of nowhere, but she made that real quick decision to break up with him. And it's like, but I feel like if she knew fully what he was hiding, I think she would have been flat out honest and just said, "Look, I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
and this is why I'm breaking up with you because you lied about it." I don't think she would have backed away or whatever the way she did, but she does suspect something weird. But we'll see. I guess we'll have to see how that unfolds. But my prediction is by the end of the season, at least her or her mom will know a secret that they didn't know before. Like either Lana finds out about Clark or whatever.
I kind of hope that at least Sarah and Lana are, Team Superman by the end of the season.
Maybe. I feel like one of them is going to be in the dark still. Because there needs to be a wedge between her and one of her parents. Everything can't be perfect with both. Because she's getting stronger with her dad. Things are going good with them. I feel like now it's time for her to drift away from Lana since they had been so close before. Maybe they do drift apart. Maybe she hides it from Lana or Lana hides it from her. I don't know. I don't want to see them argue. I don't want to see them drift. But I'm just... Because something else we haven't mentioned is probably the only thing we haven't talked about so far was that Lana wins the election.
Yeah.
She wins, and I'm like, yay, because,
She ends up doing what nobody thought she was going to be capable of doing.
Nobody.
Right? The number one is that guy was the incumbent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to keep your job than to have to fight for it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Lana really learned to step up her game and fight fire with fire. And, I think she turned, she learned how to twist it in order to kind of get people on track. It was amazing to see how many people who had originally been against her, who ended up joining her team by the end. So,
I mean, she had the whole town against her at one point.
Yeah.
A year ago, they were like, "Yeah, hey Joe, get out of our town!" Throwing ears of corn at him and empty skull cans and spit bottles and all this stuff. They hated him, graffitied their house, and now they're like, "We love you!" So, it kind of speaks to what kind of a person she really is. I like Lana. I love the casting for this Lana too. I think it's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She really is, and I think that there really isn't a stinker in the bunch when it comes to the casting of the show.
I'm trying to actually think of one, and I can't.
No, I mean, I think that everybody is there for a reason, and so, there are certainly shows where you watch them and you go, "Ugh, I can't find anybody here that I like Naomi."
Yeah, I just couldn't connect with it at all. I don't know what it was. Just didn't like it.
Yeah, Naomi is the show that I know that there are a bunch of shows that are they're hoping and praying for to get renewed for another season, and I don't think Naomi's going to make it. I think they're going to,
but they wouldn't get 3. I don't think.
Oh, they haven't done what they need to do to make that show work.
Yeah, I was done after the 3rd episode. I don't know. I just couldn't keep. It just seemed like the same thing every episode. It was like, oh, oh, where's the progress? It was like elevator practice.
Right. And it's still not really gone anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
I still watch it. But I'm not happy with it.
I haven't watched it since third or fourth episode. I'll go back and watch it eventually. Batman lost me. Supergirl lost me for a while. Naomi lost me. It sounds like it's all the women shows that lose me, but I swear it's just I don't know what it is about these shows. It's just they're not. Batwoman I did like for a long time. I think I didn't stop watching it because I didn't like it. I just stopped watching it because I forgot it was on, and then never knew when it was on again, and it just lost the whole season. So eventually I'll go back. The whole COVID schedules and shifts and all that really threw me off when they were out of production for like 7 years.
So Steven, I know that ultimately if you give me a storyline with good characters, with great plot, then I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you write stories though that don't make sense, that aren't engaging, with characters that are not very interesting or dynamic, I'm not going to enjoy them. And I think most people are like that. Even if you love the character, if they don't make a show that really engages you, you're going to check out. And I think that's the way that it is.
That's kind of how I feel about Legends. I know a lot of people are kind of critical about it, and I know it's not been your favorite thing recently, but with me, I look at Legends and I see certain stories that I might not like in other shows, like Sarah and Ava getting married and all this stuff. It's like, you look at it, it's like, okay, this clone is going to marry, this female clone is going to marry a robot alien hybrid who's also a female. Ugh, why are they shoving this down our throats? Some people would look at it that way. I look at it and I forget that they're women. I'm like, she's a badass. She's kind of cool. Oh, okay, because their characters have been built around all this other stuff, and I've liked their stories aside from this one part of it. So I don't really think of that one part of it anymore. It's just part of the overall picture. Now, sometimes the stories of that show aren't the best. I've enjoyed this past season a little bit more than the one before that, but it hasn't been the same since Giant Bebo. And now all the legends are leaving. I mean, even Nate left. So when you start having the newer legends leaving and they become the ones that used to be here, and it's like, where are you going to go with this? Let's hope Booster Gold gets there soon.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, I think that the idea behind Legends was that you could cycle people in and out, and that, okay, so we get tired of these people, we can bring some new people in, and really kind of reinvigorate the show. Mm-hmm. And I think that's possible, but it does need to step it up a little bit.
They do. I think they finished their season. I'm trying to think how it ended. I don't even remember. Oh, well. It must not have been that memorable if I can't remember it.
I know. That's pretty sad.
I had fun watching it. I remember that much, but don't remember the overall main part of the story. I do like real life Gideon, though.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
That's one of the things that's gotten me. Her and Gary, though. I don't know. It's weird. Out of all those people, Gary
Green is all the man I need.
And every time I hear Gary or see Gary, I think of SpongeBob and the snail. Because I was like, Gary! Meow! That's all I picture. I feel like if Gary and SpongeBob could talk, he would be Gary from Legends. He just seems, I don't know, he's smart, but yet he's like kind of dorky. I don't know.
Exceptionally dorky.
I was mad when he was an alien. Because if you're going to have him be an alien, just have him be a weird looking, like, do something like Star Trek. Because this kind of feels like a Star Trek-ish type thing where they're on a ship, they're computer, this, and it's like, there they do it. And so why not have like a weird alien human hybrid looking kind of makeup like a Worf or something like that, and have that be Gary, where he could just speak English all the time instead of going back and forth with this, like, let me take my glasses off. I don't know. It's just weird. I feel like it'd be cheaper to put you in 5 hours of makeup every day than it would be to CGI an alien for 30 seconds. I don't know. But I think we've covered everything we can really for this week.
I think we've covered a lot here today.
Be sure to check out our Facebook.com. It's ours. We bought it. Facebook.com/Between a Pot and a Hard Place. And the groups are Facebook.com/groups/Between a Pot and a Hard Place. Not that you guys can't read out there, but I'm just, throwing it out there. Twitter at Pot and Hard Place. You can follow us individually at Steven_Colton. I was going to say yours and mine. And then CJ_Kirk1979. And Mark Guggenheim is pretty cool. He's a great guy. I just actually emailed him recently and kind of touched base to see how he was doing. He seems to be doing pretty well.
Nice.
I asked him to come back on the show sometime. He hasn't replied to that one yet, but we'll see what happens with that. He hasn't been on in quite a while. It would be great to get him back on here and get his take on some of these shows and where he thinks they might go, or just watching as a fan what his thoughts are.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Not even as a writer, but just, just as a person. And that's about it this week. I mean, I just dropped my water bottle on the floor. It's empty, but Super Shredder says make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, or he'll stab you in the heart with this.
That's really brutal.
I mean, I don't even think that's long enough to penetrate somebody's heart. It might hit a lung.
Maybe if you push it in really hard.
That did kind of poke my finger when I opened it. I was like,
oh, okay.
Oh, there was this part, the ending of it. Like, it's still pretty pointy. It's plastic, but it's still, you could probably break the skin if you hit it hard enough. Although I still stand by the fact that he never had this stick in the movie. He just came up out of the water like, and then smashed a bunch of wood. And he didn't even use this, so I don't know where that came from.
What a shame.
Extra parts that didn't exist.
Maybe he had it, but he died before he got a chance to use it.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that this is just this stick mutated. Because he did have this one when he fought the Splinter on.
But why would the stick mutate?
I don't know. And I asked myself that same thing. Why would his armor mutate as well? And his helmet and his clothes change color. I don't know. Even as a kid, I'm like, wait a minute. Why did his helmet grow? Maybe it's something to do with the chemical compound in the metal reacted with, who knows? How could turtles end up talking? I guess it's one of those things we just have to accept that clothing can mutate as well.
No, I will not accept that.
I love how you're like, I can't accept the fact that clothes mutate. And I'm like, I can't accept the fact that this one being went back in time to kill himself, even though he became the guy that killed him. Okay, ow.
I know. Well, I think this is probably as good a chance as any to go ahead and call it a night.
Exactly. Don't forget to recycle.
Yes.
All right.
So I know we're not going to be this Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to be back this Sunday because I'm taking the weekend to watch WWE WrestleMania, which is coming on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And Sunday, if you're wrestling fans out there watching this.
Sunday, April 10th is our next episode.
Yes. We'll be back on Sunday, April 10th. Yeah, that's right. And it's going to be fun. Don't know what we're going to talk about just yet, probably. Probably by then I might be able to watch some Moon Knight.
All right. Because
I'm almost to the point where I finished Civil War. I think my next one is Black Widow. The order Disney Plus has it in is different, a little bit different than what this article told me to watch it in online. It says watch Black Widow, then watch Black Panther, then watch Homecoming.
Really?
Yeah, I guess because a lot of these are supposed to happen at the same time. I don't know when Black Panther and Black Widow kind of take place, what time as far as the timeline goes. I had not seen either of those yet. I never watched Black Panther. I don't know why. I just never watched it. Same with Black Widow. Never watched that. So far I have not seen a single Marvel movie that I did not like. Except Eternals, which I can't say I didn't like it. It just wasn't my favorite. It was my least favorite.
It was just
I think it's the same thing that happened with Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi movie. There's just too much going on. It's just too much going on for me to care about. I liked certain parts of them. I just didn't get the chance to know all these characters to care enough about them.
Right. Well, I will look forward to you letting me know what you think of Moon Knight. It's really good.
Oh no, Corey, are you guys still alive? My internet crapped out.
No.
I was wondering where you went. You had been pretty quiet. We're actually zombies now. You missed a lot.
Right.
Actually, I'm a vampire because I was talking about Batman, and then this dude came in and bit me, and now I can never go to sleep or something. I don't know. It's really cold. I have to like get a little collar and just.
Man, Corey, you totally missed out.
Yeah, a baby came here to my house trying to fight me, and it's a ninja baby, and it almost knocked me out. It's crazy. It's kind of like the movie where the babies are talking, but in this one, look who's kicking now, and they're ninja babies. That just happened in real life. I'm not joking. My face still hurts. Part of that is untrue. All of that is actually untrue.
Right.
All right. Sorry, Corey, that you just got here and we're closing up. But you can go back and watch it and tell everybody else to watch it. And everybody really enjoyed, I don't know if you saw this, but everybody really enjoyed this picture here.
Pretty awesome.
We're looking forward to the next one. And I'm so glad that we haven't been women yet. But maybe one day.
Yeah.
Who knows? As long as it's funny, I'm down. Like if we ever make the Golden Girls, I talk about that show, I guess I would be one of the Golden Girls. You would be one of the Golden Girls. I feel like that would be okay. But I don't know who the other two would be. We'll see. I feel like if the two of us have to be Golden Girls, I think Corey would have to be one of the Golden Girls. I mean, would he make himself into a Golden Girl?
I'm sure.
Nah, I don't know. That actually sounds kind of frightening. For
it
all of
does.
Us to be Golden Girls, yeah.
Yeah, you got to draw a line someplace.
Yeah, let's draw the line before I said that. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a good night, good week. And we'll see you back on Sunday, April 10th.
All right.
8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific.
All right. Sayonara.
All right. We'll see you later. Take care.
All right. Take care.